and so much more. And again, many of you are doing it. You're the ones doing it, are creating these good-paying jobs. The Inflation Reduction Act also focused on lowering costs for prescription drugs. There was a law in America that I fought like hell as a senator, and a lot of others who did for a long, long time, to change the law. The only agency that could not negotiate prices was Medicare. For years, many other members of Congress fought for decades to change that and give Medicare the power to negotiate lower drug prices, like the VA was able to negotiate drug prices for veterans. Well, with the Inflation Reduction Act, we finally beat Big Pharma. And we finally gave Medicare the power to negotiate lower prescription drug prices. And now, many of the seniors have diabetes, as one example. But now, instead of paying up to $400 a month for that insulin, for their diabetes, they're only paying $35 a month. $35. And they're still making a hell of a profit, by the way. You know how much it costs to make that insulin? $10. T-E-N dollars. $10. Package the whole thing and get up to $13. By the way, if I had Air Force One sitting out there, I could get you in a plane and take you anywhere in the world, any major capital. Whatever prescription you have, I can get it for you cheaper in Toronto, London, Berlin, Rome, anywhere around the world. But it's just beginning. The same law says that starting this January, we don't have to change any new changes with the law, the existing law, every senior's total prescription drug costs will be capped at $2,000 a year, no matter how expensive their drugs are. Even expensive cancer drugs that cost $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 a year. These reforms don't just save seniors money, but equally important, they save every American taxpayer money. Just so far, these reforms will save American taxpayers $160 billion over the next decade, because Medicare won't have to spend that anymore. And by the way, that weight loss method is just getting going, man, that debate. Watch. All told, we're proving that we can bring down inflation while safeguarding hard-won gains in jobs and real wages in American workers. Today, a record 16 million jobs created, more than any other single presidential term. When I took office, more than 2 million women left the workforce due to the pandemic. If you listen to these other guys, they think women don't want to work. They don't know women in America. Oh, I'm serious. Watch. Watch, watch, watch. And speaking of watches, on my watch, we reversed the loss. We actually increased the number of women working by an additional 2 million women in the workforce. And by the way, we have the highest share of working-age women on jobs since 1948. And we started to keep track that back then. With wages up, incomes up for women workers, we've always believed women should be paid equally for equal work, and there's not a single damn job a woman can't do that a man can do, including being President of the United States of America. You all think I'm kidding. My younger sister used to be 3 years younger than me. She's now 20 years younger. Went to the same university, took the same courses. She graduated honors. I graduated. She's the one who should be. Anyway, 19 million people have applied to start new businesses. That's a record. And here's the thing about those new businesses. Every application to start a new business is an act of hope. It's an act of optimism, hope. More Americans have health insurance than ever before, and I don't think that should be something we should sneeze at. Everyone deserves basic health care. The racial wealth gap is the smallest in 20 years. Remember how many economists thought we need a recession to bring down inflation? There was even a major financial news headline, which I'll not reference, saying, 100% chance of recession in 2023. Well, instead, our economy grew by more than 3% last year, and inflation came way down. American households came out of the crisis. American households with stronger balance sheets, higher incomes, greater wealth. And all that progress is a remarkable testament to the resilience and determination of the American people. They're the one, determination of American workers, of American entrepreneurs like all of you, American business, is in stark contrast to my predecessor's record. His failure in handling the pandemic led to hundreds of thousands of Americans dying because of COVID. Remember, just inject a little dye, you'll be okay? His failure to lead the economic crisis that followed and to create millions of Americans caused them to lose their jobs. In fact, the last month of his failed term was the last month our economy lost jobs. On my watch, the economy has created jobs every single month for nearly 4 years. Because of you. My predecessor enacted a $2 trillion tax cut that made overwhelmingly benefited the very wealthy and the biggest corporations. Made you feel good, I'm sure. But guess what? We don't have to hurt corporations. We don't have to. I come from the corporate state of the world. For 36 years, I represented a state, Tom and I, that had more corporations incorporated in Delaware than every other nation in the United States of America, every other state in the nation, the entire nation, in the state of Delaware. But what did his policies do? Increase the federal deficit significantly, more than any other previous presidential term. And the federal deficit went up every single year of his presidency and left office with the largest annual deficit in American history, $3 trillion. And now, he not only would give another $5 trillion tax cut for the very wealthy and the biggest corporations, he wants a new sales tax on imported goods, food, gasoline, clothing, and more. As most of you know, such policies would cost the average American family nearly $4,000 a year. And he and his allies say they support workers in the middle class. Give me a break. On my watch, we created over 700,000 manufacturing jobs. He lost 170,000 manufacturing jobs in 4 years. On our watch, factory construction is at a record high. It increased 210%. On the other team's watch, factory construction barely increased 2%. On my watch, the trade deficit with China declined to its lowest level in a decade. On his watch, the trade deficit with China soared. On my watch, we're seeing a record stock market and record 401ks. The bottom line is, I'm a capitalist. I wish I had more stock. But I believe capitalism is the greatest force to grow the economy for everybody. I really mean it. Now, don't point to the fact that for 36 years, as Tom would point out to you, when they did the income of all the members of Congress, I was listed as the poorest man in Congress. I never thought I was poor. I had a decent salary as a senator. But we face a fundamental choice. For the past 40 years, too many leaders have sworn by an economic theory that has not worked very well at all, trickle-down economics. Cut taxes for the very wealthy, and they deserve having taxes cut. But cut for the very wealthy and hope the benefits trickle down. Well, guess what? Not a whole lot trickled down to my dad's kitchen table. It's clear, especially under my predecessor, that trickle-down economics failed. And he's promising again trickle-down economics. But it will fail again. In fact, President Clinton pointed out that since the end of the Cold War in '89, America has created about 51 million jobs. Of those 51 million jobs in that period, the economy under Democratic presidents created 50 million, in fact, 50 million of those. And the economy under Republican presidents created 1 million of those new jobs. Folks, I've laid out a better choice, in my view, to grow the economy, from the middle out and the bottom up. I promised to be a president of all Americans, whether they voted for me or not. And I kept that promise, making a lot of Democrats very angry because studies show that the laws I signed actually deliver more benefits to red states than the blue states. That's a fact. More went to Republican states than the Democratic states. It may not have been good politics, but I believe it's good for the country. And I kept my promise. Today, we're better positioned than any nation in the world to truly win the economic competition of the 21st century, in my view. There's so much more we can do. We're going to continue bringing down prices for families by building more affordable housing, making child care more affordable. And by the way, you make it more affordable, it increases economic growth. Growth. By continuing to lower health care costs as well. We're continuing fighting to make sure everyone pays their fair share of taxes. And by the way, I hope some of you out there are billionaires. But paying 8.2% ain't quite enough. If you just paid 25%, it would generate enough income, $500 billion over the next 10 years. We could cut the deficit, be paying 25%, wouldn't it? Anyway, I don't get going. My stuff. But my point is, that includes the story. They extended the child care tax credit to cut child poverty in half. We're determined to lower prescription drug costs, not just for seniors, but for everyone. Helping the federal budget and household budgets, and so much more. I'm sorry to go on so long. Let me close with this. Early in my term, I traveled, to the skepticism of some of my own team and many of the Democrats, to South Korea to meet with President Xi and President Hu in South Korea and the CEO of Samsung. They were manufacturing a significant portion of the chips in the world. I sat with them and encouraged both of them to invest in America. And they agreed. What surprised me when I asked the CEO of Samsung why he was prepared to invest billions of dollars to build chip factories in the United States, they mentioned two reasons. Because of our workforce, which I know we have the best workers in the world, and second, they said we have the safest and most secure nation in the world in which to invest. And now, as I stand here in front of some of the most significant business leaders, successful business leaders in the country, we also know we have the best research universities in the world, the best in the world. We have the most dynamic capitalist system in the world. And here's what we can't take for granted. We have stability because we have a rule of law. Our democracy is unparalleled. I know I talk a lot about democracy from the first time around, but it's really under stress. For real. We can never lose the democratic principles. American business or economic dynamism can't succeed, in my view, without stability and security that makes us the envy of the world, and we are. 4 years ago, we've gone from a historic crisis to greater progress than any of us thought possible. We did it with a new playbook based on one of the most oldest truths of our nation. Believe in America. Invest in America. That's the truth. Give the American people half a chance. They have never, ever, 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 ever let the country down. Give them a full chance and watch them lift us up to endless possibilities. That's what I see in this room. Incredible, I really mean this, and I'm not trying to be solicitous. Incredible business leaders, innovators, who embody that sense of possibilities. I spent more time with Xi Jinping than any world leader has. Over 90 hours with him alone. Traveled 17,000 miles in the United States and China. We were in the Tibetan Plateau, and he looked at me and said, "Can you define America for me?" By the way, I gave all my notes in, so they have this. And I said, "Yeah, I can define America in one word, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Possibilities. We're a nation of possibilities. We think big. We believe big. We sometimes fail, but we think big. I'm never more optimistic about America's future.